Innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GAN's plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 309th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 2nd, 2020. Happy New Year, and welcome to another year of Knowledge Seekers Workshops from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department, and these are part of the public teachings in English. My name's Rick Krem. They'll be one of your hosts today, along with Flint Mulhausen. And of course, we are joined with Mr. Mayran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, and I believe he's willing and able to begin today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, good day to you. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers workshops. We are in the Christian calendar, and Happy New Year to many of you who celebrate this path of belief. And hopefully 2020 will be a very lucky day for many of us in so many ways. And we'll be able to establish new grounds and break through in many aspects of the science and technology, which we wish to be frontier, and we hope will be part of it to bring in new dimensions and new understanding in so many aspects of the technology. As you're aware, we are all hard working at it to launch many things in the path of the new technology. As you have noticed, the enhancement unit as of today or yesterday have gone to the value which we said at 500,000 euro. We have fulfilled what we were expecting at what we call the promotion for the knowledge seekers to be able to be part of it. Many have taken the opportunity to join in, and some have taken the steps to set up a series of new centers will be announced, which the agreement has been made and the systems have been what we call purchased for. And in some cases, Keshe Foundation has become partners in these joint ventures as part of being able to be the initiator of the development of the technology. In the past few weeks, we have promoted this technology in the way of understanding by many governments. And as you are aware, on the 17th, 18th, 19th, we are in Malta. We expect a very small meeting where we mainly concentrate our work with the officials, as Malta is a key point for the Keshe Foundation, as a headquarters of the Keshe Foundation coming up in the near future. As we move the Keshe Foundation headquarters to Malta, we need to establish liaison with what we call the locals, the governments and the officials. And this has taken place. Then we'll see, hopefully by 2020, if we are lucky and everything takes shape, Malta you will see the new headquarters. And then it's the beginning of the work for Universal Council and the Earth Council. And we'll see how we can take the knowledge to the next step. The place we have chosen is extremely beautiful, and now we have to go through the process of the natural, what we call, setting up and negotiations and the rest of it. As this is important for the foundation, the Universal Council then will take, as we said, the position of the United Nations in shareholding of the Keshe Foundation, and the Earth Council with the other 50% voting shares, where the Keshe Foundation will own by itself, but managed by the two organizations on majority vote shares. And at the same time, then we are in Mexico, early February, again interaction with the government in Mexico, and we pay a visit back into Brazil on the back of the Mexico meeting, where we finalized a lot of things in Mexico or in Brazil, which we started earlier on. Hopefully, in what you call our return, will be in Kenya. And Kenya, again, we are facing an interaction with the government on a higher level. And then we go for Tehran for the April meetings. There's a lot of interest in the meeting in Tehran. Many Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers have asked if they can come. You can all come. The only thing is, please go on the website, register. It does not matter who you are, where you are, you have to register for this meeting. The Keshe Foundation in Iran is taking the steps to arrange and organize this, as we have 4 months to the point. And we have asked the Iranian Keshe Foundation to invite the Iranian leadership, is Evidence Ayatollah Khamenei and Iranian government officials to the meeting and to the conference as we unravel new technologies and new understanding. It is part of our work to engage governments in our work and to engage officials in understanding the technology. And in that process, we are moving further and forward in so many ways with different aspects of the technology. And slowly, in the next few weeks, you will see another system in agriculture, and environment will be introduced as a unit, which will be what we call provided by the Keshe Foundation. On the other hand, as we take roots in different aspects of technology, what we decided is to move you knowledge seekers to the next step. Something which you thought is for different things or people different do things with it. We have brought in the dynamic systems with a full system that is any of you can start testing your gases. The gas of testing with the water and the rest has been going on for some times. Some of the medical doctors through different way through channeling were getting access to the dynamic systems which we do test with. And some of you were interested to, or they did purchase some to test for medical application or other things. And originally Keshe Foundation provided a course. From today, we will supply, Chanlin has joined the Keshe Foundation in providing all the systems, which means all of you can buy the motors, can buy the course, and test your different new technologies. This is what we are trying to do to encourage you to move to the next level, just drinking gas or whatever, trying to understand the field of the gases. These are all for sale and they'll all be what you call delivered around about 20th of March. We have ordered some substantial amounts that we can meet the demand. And this is gone on sale from today. This was what we said we start doing, from different knowledge seekers, different parts coming into it. And so from now on, all the products which used to be bought by people, they could see maybe somewhere as a, what do you call it, a core, they could do it. Now you can do the testing of the dynamic systems yourself. And then instead of what do you call, playing with gases in different ways, now you can feel the fields of them, understand it, see the motions of them. And this is important for many knowledge seekers, for us to move you to the next step, to move you out of the gas making into seeing the benefit of gas in the dynamic system, that gradually many of you start mastering the technology. We will try to introduce the next step on the plasma technology in the coming weeks. There are a lot of hidden technologies which you have seen but never followed it up. So we try to move you on now into the dynamic systems that many of you have seen some people playing with, but we would like you to start understanding the fields, because through these fields we can do a lot of things in understanding materials, understanding our emotions and the rest of it. The whole structure is, as of today, on the Keshe Foundation website. You can go and order. And in next few weeks, we launch a full range of, as was supposed to come through Italy, but what we call hijack in the cosmetics, a vast range of it. And then on the back of it, new products will come on online. The clothing of the Keshe Foundation and the rest will come back in online again in next few weeks. And in that process, we allow a lot of knowledge seekers to be able to produce their own systems. These are very simple systems. You can just fill in the what we call the bottles and test it yourself. See what the fuck it does, having 2 or 3 systems. A new version of this with a less, what do you call it, bits and bobs will come in after the 20th. And we have offered 2 different sizes, because some people like a slightly larger sizes. There is a 3 centimeter and a 4 centimeter. But the only difference will be in the coming time, the base where you see lock on the floor will change to a vibration system absorption, which gives you more stable conditions for testing. And in overall, this is what we want to do to encourage you to move on, to take the next step. And in so many ways, take you out of just making gases and doing things with it. Now, as we said, if you want to find the fields of the strength of your soul and everything else, we have to get you moving. If you want to create conditions of see if you can create flights, if you can see, you can sit between the systems and see how the interaction will be, and how you can test things, and how you can make things. And this is becoming one of the parts which we are trying to get you to move into the fields. As we said, we played enough with Ganses. Now Keshe Foundation has taken over this side directly, and we have booked in thousands of these available to rapid, what we call strengthening the knowledge of the knowledge seekers. In the coming time, you will see other systems that we will introduce, and this is how we take in what we call the leadership in bringing all the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers technologies into the frame of the Keshe Foundation. So other knowledge seekers who have developed other equipments and systems which they sell one or two, now we have gone, as we said, we bring them all in step by step, one by one. If you have produced anything, as you've seen here, with a system which now has come from China with Chanlin, we bring your technologies in. You can bring in, and then we have made an arrangement, an agreement with Chanlin that he gets paid percentage of the sale, so he can concentrate on developing. And as he has become part of the full-time members of the Keshe Foundation organization, we bring you in as full-time, that they can support you and support us to bring different aspects of the technology. So if you are in Brazil or in China or anywhere else, and you have a product, from now on, this is the beginning of what we promised you. We support you to earn a decent living from the technology you developed or the aspects of technology you developed. And so this is the beginning of the start of what we said. You can buy the balls for it, or you can buy the full set. And this way, we take everybody across the whole aspects of the, what we call development of the technology by the knowledge seekers. We have seen in Brazil some knowledge seekers have developed different kind of pens and they want to promote it. We have no problem. And we have seen in China other knowledge seekers having different products. What we are doing with Chinese especially is that the Chinese Keshe Foundation website in the next few weeks will become operational, which means Chinese products will be sold in China, which we might not have access outside China. The same thing, it'll be on Alibaba platform. It's already been set up, it's just getting it sorted out and other bits which is need to be done in the legal framework of the Chinese operation. So those of Chinese knowledge seekers who have products in China wanted only to be sold and can be sold in China, they get the additional platform of all what we do outside, plus what they have delivered inside. And some of you can go on Alibaba Keshe Foundation in China and literally order it on that platform. It all belongs, all comes through the foundation work. We try to do the both international and the Chinese Alibaba section. Everything has been sorted and is done. And in that process, we go back into a lot of clear separation. Up to now, hopefully, we'll give you a new indication next week or two that what we have separated the work of the foundation as a donation and the foundation as a commercial side. And the donation hopefully will go back on a separate line that it goes directly to the foundation. Many of you have been sending donations to US account. That account is not applicable. Do not donate into what we call PayPal there or whatever. And the same goes to what we call Italy. Italy account is suspended. So if you have paid any money in past 2 or 3 months to Italy, you have to recuperate it back because that account is suspended. In this process, as I said, in next few weeks, you will receive maybe 6 weeks or whatever, new range of cosmetics, totally targeted, which was supposed to come out of Italy, but as I said, it was hijacked. Now it'll come back again on very low prices. We deliberately keyed the prices in a way that those of you who are interested to buy can afford it and can be done. And as we structure it in a bigger way, everything will be done. In the first couple of months, we'll have a slow start with it, but now the foundation has taken full control of the what we call the retail side. We don't trust nowhere what happened to us to happen again in Italy. And this matter now is that we developed the Keshe Foundation product range to 3,000 to 5,000 in the next 12 months. You will see what I'm talking about. So when you come on the website, the Keshe is not just single items. Both in Alibaba and the Keshe Foundation, you will find a massive range of products. I've put a lot of time. We're going to go into it furthermore in coming months. And then you can see all applications of the what we call technology in every aspect you need, from the farming, from the people who produce cancers. And we'll start categorizing it as our webmaster in the background set up things that we this time take control, full control of everything else. There is one thing that we will show by first week or round about maybe before 1st of February, the full what we call enhancement unit. The enhancement unit will be ready, completed, hopefully in a structure by round about 1st of February, maybe before that. It all depends on our team, which are going to do it. And then it goes into is what we call trials for certification, complete delivery in February. And then it will be delivered to all the Keshe Foundation, those who purchased it. The important thing for us is that this system is still the old picture. We don't have the new picture of it. The system is more or less should be structurally finished in next 8 days. Somewhere in next 10, 15 days, the full system is available. But then it has to go through its fitting and through its testing, and hopefully before around end of January, you will see this unit in physical operation around the world. We start delivering around about, by finish with trials, around about somewhere in around about March, just the second week of March, first week of March. But the physical unit will be available, as we call, in by the end of this month. We will show it, and it will be ready for what we call testing and trials of it, and we should be able to deliver first week of March internationally around the world as our commitment builds up. We keyed it up especially this way. Those who trusted the foundation got benefit by it before 31st of December, 150,000. Those who are waiting to see it, they will go at 31st of March. The price will increase to €1,000,000. And we already have orders on 500,000. And the next step on it, it will take us, we know by commitments on what I have seen and negotiations I do in the background, we will reach between 500 to 1,000 units a month. We can deliver, and our contracts will be fulfilled. In this process, we then come back to the knowledge seekers in structuring the knowledge seekers who are looking for different type of application. We'll see how it can be done, and as part of the KFSSI, we start training and teaching. Don't forget, this week and next week is the last week. You can decide what you want to study in KFSSI and what as a research, and we'll bring a lot of work into this. There is a a lot of communication in the background about the Iranian conference and research and development between Keshe Foundation and Iranian Keshe Foundation supporters. We will take a step to make sure in the Iranian conference in Tehran, all the technologies delivered will be by the Iranian scientists, be it from the universities, individuals or groups. We already know a number of them which will come up as part of the presentation, and we will commercialize these for the Iranian Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers supporters. This is important for us to do. If you are booking for Tehran conference, Tehran conference has been put at €300 for just covering the expense of the hall and the 4 days lunch. And accommodation of the rest is, as we said, in the hand of the Iranian knowledge seekers who will see to the accommodated. They're talking around about 2,000 to 3,000 people in this conference. And so if you are coming to Tehran, please understand, register your names, same as everything else. We hand this over to the national security. Iran security has to accept and clear a lot of people, and we do the same ourselves. Therefore, we expect a very fruitful meeting in Tehran. But nothing has to finish to be done only in Tehran. Mexico is the same, needs to be supported. If people are in US or Mexico want to attend it and make it the same as what it was in Brazil. And then again in Africa, we are in pace in work with what we call Kenyan government and the rest of it. Please put your points in the teaching of KFSSI, the projects you want to see to start, and then when the projects starts in Keshe Foundation, I try to join in after the what we call Malta conference to take lead and guide most of the teachings of what we call the researches which we want to go ahead with. So it'll be very hand-on. I'll be involving most of the researchers if you want to be as teams. And so we make it ready that if we can, some of you are near to the beginning of it or whatever, then you can show part of your work in Tehran conference. This is part of what we see to develop and part of what will be shown in development of the technology. We're still looking for, as we said, doctors and everything else. And Dr. Rodriguez, as head of the Keshe Foundation Medical, takes charge as of this week, as we agreed with him, for the training of the teachers and the rest of it, and everything else from now on with the enhancement unit on the health application wise is totally in the hand of Dr. Rodriguez with the support of the Keshe Foundation team in the background to organize teachings, teachers and doctors in the background to help and support. Are there any other questions before we go into teaching?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I remind the attendees they can put their hands up if they like to ask a question. Check the media here.
No. This is good, so everybody understood.
Apparently.
I think we have a good people with moving the teachings to 12 o'clock today.
Mr. Keshe, I had a question regarding the projects that people might like to work on, and now this will be within the private teaching of KFSSI, correct?
Yep.
And
yes.
How will these groups be formed, and who will be leading them, or is it just someone who's got the interest will be the leader of that group, kind of, or organize it?
That's how we see it. That's how we see it. And we give you a platform on Thursdays and Tuesdays, Universal Council meeting. And if there's a practicality, you can join in with Rick's Wednesday morning. You'll get the full support in every direction for this part.
And where would someone who's interested in doing that, do they apply at the
Just as
KFSSI
under
education?
KFSSI, we open teaching. Is it on the, I don't know which day is the opening of the KFSSI this year. Do you know when does it start?
I'm not clear on that. Do you know, Flint, or somebody else?
Yeah, Monday the 13th.
We're not starting on the 13th, forget about it. We start on the 14th. There is no classes on the 13th.
There's no 13th floor.
No, 13th, we know when to start classes. Can you change that on the 14th? So we start on the 14th, and you can join in on the 14th in the classroom and between yourself decide which topics you suggest to agree. We give you that first week to agree on topics and who wants to join in one or two groups or whatever. And then from there, we start creating different Zoom numbers for each group. It'll be on the KFSSI platform that people can join, new students can join. And then what we call, we start building it up in practical, in testing or making prototypes. We'll give you every facility possible as much as possible, or you build up the prototypes or different kind of research. So you have to join in as a student that, what do you call, from there in the classes you decide, or you can just join in because you think you want to do a project and bring it in the teaching in the classroom. Classes mobile is open. This way, all knowledge seekers, you might have a point of view, you want to do a project. So you can even start on your own, and then we promote it, and other people like to join you, they can join you. This is what we call the idea of research and development. Is your idea, and the foundation will support it, or you can come and report it and find other people in different part of the teachings which they want to join you. And nowadays with translation, doesn't matter which language you speak, if you're interested, you can join. It doesn't need to be English, and develop it together. We've seen this working beautifully with the Brazilian group, that everybody who wants to participate comes in, develops whatever. So 14th of what we call January, we'll start this group, and we'll see the classes starting, and you start developing what you need discussion wise. And then from the second week or third week, you start putting a framework around it that you can start actually research. You can work around the clock or in times you have, or come in with ideas, set a group of your own, see who can join you in what you want to do research with. Any other question?
Okay, that sounds good. I think on the 14th we'll have the One Nation, One Planet, One Race as well on that day, so that'll be good.
Yeah. We canceled many of the teachings here and there, and anything which is not on research and development of the KFSSI becomes a fringe teaching. It's not part of the main part of the Keshe Foundation teaching. What we call the plasma private teachings. Oh yeah, how to become a student. That's good. The the process for what we call what used to be the classes which you could see like a soul teaching or other parts, these all become as part of the fringe, not the main frame of the Keshe Foundation work. They are just there. We give some platforms. Some people would like to join them or they want to be outside it. These are not part of the Keshe Foundation KFSSI teaching, but these platforms will stay on for some people who want to carry on with their own way of doing things, or teaching wise, like the soul teaching has taken a lot of people because of our teaching in that direction, want to extend it. We keep that going, but it has to be in that frame. And no other fringe bits will allow to happen because we have to keep some control over a lot of things before it runs out of control. The process with what we call research, if part of your research shows promising results, and then we can bring it in as a full operational testing. It'll be done with you as teams with it, and then we bring people together to be able to do the test. As I said, now hopefully with us setting these research centers will give us a lot of chances to do things slightly different than before, but in a way that you can come in for 3 months, 6 months, sit in and develop research, find a month together somewhere. We give you the accommodation in the research lab and everything, can test it, and then we'll see where we go. We develop this technology together in one way or another. And in so many ways, governments will play in that game of development of technology by the foundation. Any other question?
I had a question in the live stream. When will the Huawei implement the battery technology?
We will release that on the appropriate way.
It's probably not something that can be talked about in public, I imagine, until it's actually implemented.
We will release that we'll see what comes up and how we will gather what we call the total amount in it. Anything else?
Nothing else coming up in our chats here, Mr. Keshe.
Okay, that's good.
Do you need me to remind you of a topic?
No, that's okay. There's no problem.
Okay.
I've been told that the image has been updated on the what do you call the universal enhancement system.
In the video, you mean for the latest video?
The latest and the pictures in the shop in the store, because
okay.
the picture was of the old one. Now the new one is there. They've loaded it up. Some points is there to say we go ahead. As we said, this is the actual system, but you will see the physical system always been done. It'll be shown fully before end of this month. The full prototype, it will be available around about 18th. By the time they finish it and they paint it, it'll be by the end of the month. If we miss it, it'll be just beginning of second week of February, as China goes into what we call New Year's from 25th, usually last 2 weeks. And then for that gap, the Chinese Keshe Foundation team is still supporting, and the Keshe Foundation from outside will be there to finish the job that it can be done. And you will see the physical operation sometime before end of this month, or just immediately after the Chinese New Year in February. Anything else? Any other question?
Not seeing anything else right now, Mr. Keshe. There is a question in the chat about why is it so difficult to use the soul capacity in the human condition? From Najib.
It's not difficult. We have made it difficult. You see, what we call the lack of trust in ours, and we allowed ourselves, by not understanding it, I'm trying to explain this in a different way. We didn't know because we couldn't imagine. We took our heart to be the center, but we never understood everything needed a structure to be part of us as an energy. We have made a lot of miscalculation in totality of the life. Those we consider scientists, by themselves not understanding the science of it, have misled us, and those who we trusted that they bring new understanding and the knowledge, by themselves not understanding, have created more dilemmas for the scientists to do it again. We've seen a clear indication of this in past decades. Stephen Hawking came out with this ridiculous idea of the black holes are eating machine, and being forcing himself into position to become a false eminent scientist, stopped any new ideas to come in about black hole. To me, he was one of the biggest criminals in cosmology. And his stupidity for 30 years blocked any new ideas, any new concept to be listened to, till he read the papers about the creation of black hole by us. And then he changed mind, and now suddenly the whole world of cosmology has changed. Because this ridiculous, ignorant what we call scientist, Stephen Hawking, blocked any new ideas. And because he forced himself to become eminent scientist, he blocked everything. And this is part of our problem. This has been part of our problem. Even when it comes to the soul, religious leaders have done the same to abuse man. We've seen another criminal scientist who we call Einstein. He came out with the same thing, the speed of light is the ultimate speed. And people don't, and anybody comes on, Einstein has said, a bookkeeper, God knows, the guy who has no understanding of physics, now they're giving him the control. And this peer review and these conditions they've created has created these problems for us. If you look from the time Stephen Hawking read the paper about the creation of black hole, he understood all the mistakes he made. Look at every single lecture and development he's done. It's a copycat copy of the Keshe Foundation teaching. He changed his idea about the creation of universe. He changed his idea about the creation because he understood his total ignorance of science, and he tried to make himself, but it won't stick. It's part of us not understanding how we were created, how things are created. We accepted a bunch of what are called ignorant people who call themselves scientists. And because of the whatever religious background, like Einstein was nothing. We gave him that position to abuse us scientifically. And now everything he talks about, leading scientists are proving to be wrong. String, everything to do with the, what do you call, his string game, and then his ideas with everything else. He never understood he wasn't a physicist, he was a made-up man that he believed himself became made up to be. And we learned a lot of false things from him. Now we see the same thing with the soul. The soul of the man being the center of the creation. Of now we understand if you don't have a soul, we cannot be. If you don't have a sun in the solar system, how can you have a solar system? It's like this new idea, which now we see it, we understand it, but they still don't understand the totality of it, of finding what they call single planets in the middle of galaxies without connected to any solar system. And they cannot explain it. But it's very simple if you understand the totality of it. How can there be a single star or single planet, because it's dark and it doesn't have anything dimensionally, be existing on its own between the galaxies or between the solar system? That's normal. And now if you listen to the scientists who are trying to come up with their ideas of how it could be, is becoming ridiculous. Cosmologists have become a bit more now. Stephen Hawking's curtain of stupidity has gone. Now we see a lot of people coming up with a lot of not understanding of even creation of matter, how the universe was created. If you understand how the universe was created, then we understand how ourselves in the universe, in the womb of the mother, are created. A lot of mysteries of false information will be solved with this enhancement unit, because it's a replication of the universe. It's not a health system, it's a universal system, and a lot of this will be resolved, because we give room, we put units in different what we call Keshe Foundation research centers, which knowledge seekers who sign for knowledge KFSSI can go in and test. When is the point of the elevation of the soul? What mixture do we need to have? What is the time span of it? When can we change the soul back to its physicality in the condition we created? These are all need to be done. We will not have any more time to waste, because the systems are there. We can replicate the beginning of the time in each system. The enhancement unit is not reached the point. This is just the beginning. Now we're going to the next step. The next step, next generation of the enhancement unit will come out of Iranian research. You will see what I'm talking about. in the coming time. The next generation of enhancement units is totally, totally different. I'll see it to be out by the end of next year. Doesn't mean that these units go obsolete. It'll become a back to these units to become more powerful, to show more. And this is what I said, knowledge seekers to come in and plan. I want to test. Number of these enhancement units are placed, especially in Arizona. 4 units are left there for research, KFSI units, to go there and research water, energy, contamination, environmental, enhancement of the soul. Is there. 6 units stays with Keshe Foundation, what we call to pay for the expenses of it. And then this level 6 will increase it to 20 to go into the operation with what we call the Keshe Foundation collaboration with the American space units and space scientists, and then becomes international. We have already seen a place in Arizona, and John has hopefully made the first moves for acquisition. Once we acquire it, the Keshe Foundation Research Center for Health has already been purchased. Is done. This next step is the Space Center Research Development, which 10 units will go in there, and will come part of. We invite what we call the Iranian space and the Americans and the most of the American space technology to move in there to start testing the space technology, the same as what we do in Tehran. But in that process of space technology, we have to understand the soul. It's not the physicality, because now we understand everything is made of fields. We had a discussion on the Iranian teaching this week that one of the knowledge seekers in Iran, you have to understand the mentality in Islamic world, that what happens with a lot of things which has been said by the in Quran or in Torah or in New Testament or whatever, like one of them discussion was the punishment of the cutting the hand as a punishment. Okay, we cut a hand by the Islamic law. But now the Keshe Foundation technology shows you can grow the hand. So a criminal carries on carrying on with his criminal offenses. Your hand cut, it goes and has a system, he can grow his hand. So we have to update the religion, upgrade the understanding. So now we understand we need to enhance the body of the man that doesn't carry on the crime. To enhance the soul of the man. Understand why do we create these conditions of crimes. Now the game has changed. Where is the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers who come? Okay, we are doctors. We want to see how we can grow a hand or a foot or a leg in these systems. What is the consequences? Why? Now we understand a lot of religious things don't make sense. We start questioning the religions because of what they put there. Now we have a system, we can see it. We are not contradicting it, we're showing it what it is. You say Moses saw the fire or the light or whatever. That's this interaction of the soul. Now we create, we allow your soul to become strong enough that in the strength, the brain cells cannot stop its strength, and it, by what we call superimposes the physicality, then you become a light. And if I speak to you, do you become my God? As I see you as a light in the system. Do you become a new prophet? This is where I said many times, when we take man to space, he'll come so knowledgeable that nobody can claim to be anything. in the teaching of today, I'll explain to you a new, old hypocrisy in this world of science of even this planet. And we all accepted it. It's not acceptable. It's not there. I put the seed of thoughts about the being wrong in the first book when I called it the Caroline Core. It should have been understood because a lot of knowledge seekers now going to the development of these dynamic systems, especially announced today that is getting delivered, that you can buy. If you see that, and if you can understand the work of it, and if you stood still for 1 second, you can see the biggest fallacy in the world of physics to do with astronomy and cosmology has been accepted. And because what I call somebody who came up with this, like the fossil fuel comes from the remnants of the what you call dinosaurs and whatever. Now we have proven it's all false because every day millions of tons of oil comes down because you create it on top of your CO2 gas boxes and everything else. We see how rubbish that has turned out to be. Now we have to understand how much we have accepted false information even about the physics of this planet or the solar system. And now if you understand the new, or what we clarified in the book, but nobody has understood, and it has to be understood because if you understand that, then you understand the position of your soul. Then you move on to the next step of understanding the totality of the creation. A lot of things have not understood, and a lot of it just becomes fallacy on top of fallacy we have accepted. Let me explain to you something very interesting. I wrote this too. I want to share. Okay. I have to find out how to extend my pencil. Okay. Let me come back to something which is extremely misunderstood, and now as knowledge seekers you understand. What I'm going to explain to you is going to shock you, and in some ways it should not have shocked you, but some of you have already understood it. The present world of astronomy, the present world of geology, and the scientists in this world have told us, and we have accepted it, which has been total nonsense, that one thing, that as the universe cooled down, we start seeing matter. What a rubbish. As the matter strength of the fields of the plasma, the strength reduced, we start seeing matter. And then there is another fallacy on top of this, that by cooling down, matter appeared in the universe. And then by creation of whatever, we start seeing stars and planets and the rest. No such a thing. If you understood that in the motion of magnetic gravitational fields, some they all don't go in one direction, and by losing an interaction they turn back on each other. You understand the universe, even our solar system, even our universe was created out of the interaction of the fields in finding two different poles, two different directions of motion, which created the gravity, which led to the creation of the universe in the matter state as we see it. This is a huge difference than what it is now in the cosmology, in the understanding of the creation of the universe. The creation of the first elements, the first fields, the first plasmas came out of the interaction of the fields, which in that interaction, those who were moving in opposite direction created the gravity. So this is not in the books of today. Today, they talk about every rubbish except understanding that nothing in the universe can be created if there is no gravitational field force. So there is no cooling. Now we understand it. And if you as knowledge seekers and the future knowledge seekers will create the condition in the systems or in these dynamic cores which you start playing with, you will see you start creating matters inside your cores, if you know how to play. So the biggest fallacy in cosmology, that by cooling of the universe and by things, matters, the first matters appeared, is all fallacy. The only reason matters appeared because the gravity, what we call by interaction of the fields, the first signs of gravity appeared. And that gravity, according to its strength, start pulling other fields that in their interaction, some reach the matter state to the observation of the point of view of the man. At the moment, the cosmologists tell us the mass of the matter in the universe is very, very minute compared to what it is. What a rubbish. The universe is full of mass, depends on what you're looking at. Nothing was happening in the dark till we made the glasses that can see the dark, and we see life is active and everything is moving. Our lack of knowledge and not understanding and believing some of the fallacies of the other scientists who themselves never understood has brought a lot of problems. So for the first time we understand how our universe is created. How our universe, the first matters appeared. The matters appeared because the universe is totally and absolutely what you call a dynamic world of motion of fields. And some of these fields, in reducing the speed, interacting, have led to creation of the gravity, which that gravity in turn has turned to creation of pulling more fields, and with it creating the first elements and then the first stars. So our universe has created out of interaction of the fields and in a dimension and the fields of it. But when you look deeper in understanding this, then there is another dilemma which we all get tangled with it. What we see is that all the elements on this universe in the matter conditions, we call it anti-clock movement. And then when we look at the galaxies' arms will appear in the same kind of direction. But what is interesting is why do most of the galaxies we see rotate in this direction? Why don't we see this direction? Does this give us a better and bigger understanding of the position of our own universe in the unicos? If you understood simply that if you are in a northern hemisphere, when you open the little tap on the bottom of the bath, you get that rotation. And in the south, you get this rotation. Does the anti-clockwise motion of our universe indication that we are in the northern hemisphere of the unicos? And in that position, do we now understand why we see some opposite direction motion in part of it because of other universes? And at the same time, because of creation of the fields which trying to balance the mixture of the universe. If that is what we see, and the motion of our universe is on the anti-clockwise, does that mean a very fundamental point is our creator in the center of the whole? If our universe sits in this position, and is in the anti-clock motion, and there is another universe in the clock motion, as we see, don't forget, what is in the macro is in micro, and what is in micro is in macro, so it cannot be much different. And we believe and we see that we have an earth which is rotating, and you have a center. Does it mean the unicos itself has this shape? And does it mean what we call our creator, where the original fields came that in interaction led to creation of the universes, led to creation of us? Then it raises another question. As this process of change has taken place, as we've seen the creation of the man in different part of the universe, in our planet, is it the same? Is there another dimension in the life which replicates man in other sides of this unicos? Or have we become the reflection of it? With understanding the truth about the interaction of the fields and how they do, we find out we know nothing about the creation. And if this creation is in such a position, does it have a center and has a soul? Which the interaction of the fields of it has led to the creation of physicality of it. Then the question of what we call cosmology, the way our little universe has been thought to be created, stands correct in every dimension of the science. Then there's more to answer in misunderstanding by our own people in the past times. Something which, one of the first questions I asked as a teenager, and I asked scientists in nuclear industry, and I asked cosmologists, and they cannot answer you because what we say is 100% correct, is this. In the present world of physics, with our geology, they tell us that the heavy material sank to the middle, to the center, and we have a solid iron core. And this has created the rest of it. With the knowledge we have, and this is what I understood when I was maybe 10 years old, was this is load of rubbish. And the more we go into the world of science, we understand we have accepted the biggest fallacy in the world of cosmology, physics, and everything else, and nobody has put it right. I mentioned in one of the reasons in the first book was this. This is why I created the core called Caroline. Because if you are as simple as me as a child, and you could see what I could see, you realize I'm correct. Two things. The center of this has to be hollow. First of all, because we have seen a copy of this in the dynamic course, we always get that hollow center at given speed. But when you look at the structure of a planet, or a star, or a galaxy, or a universe, or a universe, there is one fundamental point. If you understand the totality of the world of physics, what they've been telling us, that the center of Earth is a solid core, or what we call the outer core, or the inner core, we call it the outer core, and then we have an inner core, whatever you want to call it, cannot be solid. Does not follow the laws of the plasma, does not follow the laws of the physics of the cosmology. If you understood what I understood as a young boy, it's very simple. By creation of the centrifuge, you push the material to the edge. And the heaviest goes outside. This is by the law of centrifuge, which means the rotation. But by the law of the plasma in a vacuum condition, you don't need a centrifuge. You still get the heavy material to the outside. And the center, in both cases, is the lightest and empty. You rotated those balls and you saw the center. Earth is a centrifuge, 1,600 kilometers an hour, and is in the vacuum of the universe. Now go a step further and look at this. The body of the man and the soul of the man. If we understand this, if we understood this, which I understood at the very early stages of my life, that how much things don't add up, what do you get? We go to our little bowl. We have a vacuum bowl. Then we have a liquid water to the fringe of it. And then we see the material. In the centrifuge, we see the same. We push the water and then we collect the solid on the edges of it. So is the body of the man. In that process, the body of the man, you have the soul. Then you have the brain. And then what he has done has created the physical dimension of the body of the man. But because of the proximity to the what we call the soul of the earth, he has taken the shape of the body of the man. So if we go back, because we understood the wrong way that the center of the earth is a solid core metal, because it has to be magnetic, it has to be steel, because that's the only time we have a magnet. We see all these fallacies which has come up. We have not understood the condition of creation of vacuum. We haven't understood the condition of creation of our own soul, which in our case, this friction, we call it the brain. The slowing down in the strength till becoming to the matter state. What we see on the surface of this planet, what we see on the surface of in your reactors sticking to the wall, and what we see as the skin of the man. Then the interaction of the fields inside with each other dictate different conditions. We see liquid of what we call magma, and then we see the physical matter states, and whatever this can create. Here we see the brain, and we see the interaction of the physical body of the man. If you understood this, and this is the reason we introduced these new reactors in the what we call for sale, is that if you can replicate the gravitational magnetic field, somebody's microphone is open. If you create the condition of the gravity of the earth in respect to your core, you will see physicality manifestation. Isn't this what we are developing in the enhancement unit? Isn't this what we have been not understood before and been lied to, and we have accepted it, that now we have a problem even to understand our soul? Then the whole riddle of the creation changes. It's impossible, it's absolute impossibility for any solid matter to go to the center of the earth. If you understood even a little bit about the world of physics, rotation of the matter, creation of condition of matter, and what we call everything else. The pressures will play a game, but the pressures through the rotation of the creation of the fields confirm to us the center of this planet is hollow. The center of every planet is hollow. Every star is hollow, because we have a system and we can see it. If you change the speed, if you change the magnetic field vacuum condition, you will start seeing different structures. Then the question comes, is there any difference between the soul of the system you built does it make any difference between the soul of what we call everything else which we did? And does it come to the point of understanding the totality in how do we go back in comprehending what we've done, what we understood? then we understand we accepted a lot of fallacies. Is the field of the plasma the creator of the matter, or is the interaction of the fields of a plasma leads to the creation of the matter? And depending on the strength of the fields of the observer, at which level does matter appear? This is why many times in the teaching I've said, what is read to me is not read to you. And this is what we have to understand. And now that we have come to the point of comprehending more and more of the totality, does this mean, is there a creator? Or as a radiation from his fields, we have become part of the creator? Because through his strength we are connected, all of us, we are connected to this. So in so many ways, we have to understand where are we going to. Now that we start working with the dynamic systems, and now we have started understanding the creation of the plasma fields interaction, game changes. Game changes drastically. Because now we know we need a field source. And if we create enough conditions within the field source, do we lead to creation of different matters? And does any of these matters have different meaning, or has a different value from the point of observation of the Creator, as they are all, in all essence, are connected to it? Nor is it man who has made the difference due to a lack of his own understanding. There is no ambiguity about this knowledge anymore. It's very clear. If this soul is the soul of the Creator, I am connected to his own strength and field of interaction with me. Does not matter which galaxy, which universe, which part of the unicos I live. I carry his strength, I carry his knowledge, and I carry his mighty. It's me who has to understand, has to comprehend, and comprehend the totality of where do I sit in the strength in respect to him. But me being on the fringes of a galaxy and another one being in the center of the galaxy has made much difference. Or being in a unicos further from him means you're different than the one who's closer. Even though you still have the same strength. Does it mean that I made man in the image of myself, it means I made man from my soul. I became the Adam, and through the creation of my own fields, I'll confirm my own existence. Does it mean that everything created in the universe is the Eve, created as part of the Adam? We call it the rib. Is this his rib? Or is this his rib? Or the same? We haven't become kafar because we understood the totality. We have become wise in understanding the truth. There is a very important point that I raised for a rabbi, and I was still waiting for an answer. And that is the light, the fire, which the prophets claim to see, is not the what we call the interaction between the soul of the physicality and the soul of the man itself, that in the eye of physicality he sees the interaction of the light of his soul as a light of knowledge or enlightenment. And if this is the answer, which is the answer, then it means we all have the capability to stand from the soul of physicality to see the interaction of the fields with our own soul of the creation, which we call the light of knowledge. And then we all stand the same with all the prophets of the past. And in so many ways, we should not call ourselves a prophet because we have come to understand the totality. But do we have to strengthen the soul, that the interaction with the soul of physicality will see the light? Or do we have to enlighten the soul of physicality to, in its interaction with the soul of the man, to see the light? In either way, whatever we look at it, what we call the light comes, and it can only come from interaction of the two fields from two different directions. You call it the sun and the earth. The interaction of their fields leads to the direction of what we call creation of light. And it cannot be any different between interaction of the light of the soul of the man and the light of the soul of physicality of the man. And then when you become that light of surpassing what we call the soul of physicality in interaction with the fields of the universe, you become a light. And would we see that light coming out of the universal box? This is the biggest fear for those of you who have lacking the knowledge of understanding the totality. And many religious people, be it ayatollahs, be it archbishops, be it rabbis, will create this mayhem because they know they lost their position as the man has become knowledgeable to the source of his own existence. Then the answer becomes very simple. In what strength do one reaches to be strong enough to be as part of the soul of the Creator? And the biggest dilemma for man is in which level the present soul of the man sits. If this is the soul of the Creator. then it comes to man to ask himself a question. If they say there are 7 levels in the level of the soul, is the soul of the man in this position where the ultimate goal of the 7 is the soul of the Creator? Or is the fingerprint, is the mirage of the man, not understanding the totality? Now you can see how fallacies have led to acceptance to become the truth. Our universe was created out of cooling down, which now we know is rubbish. Is created out of interaction of the fields and creation of gravity, of depending on the strength. Now that the center of the planet is solid, we know it's a fallacy. Then it comes the truth to us, for us, and that is our Creator within us? And are we within the Creator, or within the realm of the totality of His fields? And the biggest question is, with the teaching of today, with the teaching of the new message which we have brought, are we showing you to go to the next level and there spend time to learn more, to become more, or can, to what we have taught you, be able to jump and become at the strength of the part of the Creator? And the answer to that is very simple. Yes, you can. As you know, the field of the plasma rotates, and the stronger is in the center. And this is the position you take, but the fields are all coming from the same source. Then a lot of books of physics has to be written, isn't it? Now that we know the earth of the center of the earth cannot be metal, as they said the heavy one sank in. Law of the centrifuge, as the earth is rotating, and the law of gravitational magnetic field in the vacuum condition tells us our planet is created exactly like, as we said, the material, heavy material has come to the edge, what we call the surface of the planet. The same as has done the physicality of the man, the same as you see in the core. Then, if that is the case, as it is, then it has a center, which that center, as you can see in the dynamic reactors, has created a position that all the fields balance and share, like has to be empty. So is the same as the soul of the man. As I said to you, this year we start teaching in a very different dimension, that you can understand the totality. Then no one can tell you lies and no one can cheat. But in a way, these teachings of the past has brought us to where we are to be able to understand. But if we would have understood it correctly from the beginning, wouldn't that give us a chance to now, in that billions of years as man, would have been higher, to be closer to? But what does it mean to be closer to the source of the creation? That they become part of the Creator. And in fact, we become it to become radiant, to radiate. And in so many ways, when you put the fields together, you come to one point. The interaction of the fields of the gases and the plasmas creates new dimension of fields, which can, in interaction, lead to new dimensions in every aspect of the creation. That's where they interact, lead to creation of new conditions and new matters, according to the point of the eye of the observer, according to the field strength. But are all these matters the same from the point of the view of the observer? Or you have to be of a different strength and different observer to see what we see. And do we look the wrong side of the light? They're only looking at the light which comes to us. We are not looking at the light which goes away from us. Because that comes from our soul. That comes from our inner being. And man has not understood this yet. Then, if you understand this, does the man needs the vision of the eyesight to see? Because in so many ways, what you see has two options. You see with what your eye can radiate, an interaction with what is radiated, you create yourself an object. Or you see with the light of the soul. And then do you see the same object? Then you understand mankind does not need an eye to see in the depths of the universe, where the interaction of the fields of his own soul gives the true dimension and the true reality about what he comes to encounter. And if the fields of other side, which by the gravitational field of the soul of the man comes to be different than what he can absorb or observe, he says no to. Then you understand that I'll tell you, your soul sees the soul of the other before your physicality. And if you see that, you see how easily you can see what other people say and talk and reality do. As I've said many times, darling, I've got a headache. You can see through the soul, and there is no pain, no. This is what we see, but the wisdom comes with silence. Because your soul has already made the decision how to react to it. Then when somebody says, darling, I love you, then you understand, is it really love, or is because it's just a talk? Or is it true love? Or is it made up? And don't forget, from the point of human being, love means giving. I give you everything when I tell you I love you. My physicality has no dimension because you receive it from my soul. And then when you see the one you give love to has given love to someone else, and they pretend you see it clearly. But it's your wisdom that you keep quiet. It's the same in the depth of the space. When you come and see a new soul, you decide, is it going to eat me or tap into my energy, or am I going to eat him, can tap into his energy? And then you understand, in the universe, no one taps to no one's energy, as man does in eating the others. This is why we created the term of Magra position, at the point that everything is in balance and in correct condition. Nothing can disturb the position, because the fields from the center of the magnet and the plasma have already decided. The physicality just shows the position. Now you have seen in one teaching in one morning how much we have thrown away from what we have accepted. Now go back and try to rewrite all the books that the heavy metals have sunk in the middle. And the center of the earth is the iron core. What a load of rubbish we have accepted. And then goes the same with the soul. Do we need others to tell us about the position of our soul and what is wrong and what is right? Or do we see it through our own soul? Does not matter what fabrication. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Dan had a number of questions in the Q&A, and Skywalker had a question earlier. How do you get heavy metals out of your body?
Buy yourself a new centrifuge. Not by buying centrifuge, but in a way understand the motion of your soul and the motion of your physicality. if mankind understands, if you can emotionally understand that what you interacted, what you created leads to the cancer of breast or creation of cancer of prostate or any other cancer, which means the change of field, not the way you look at it, then you can change the same position to change elements in your body. Then you change the fields, and then with the material or the fields of that matter, you think, because in the body of the man, everything in a Ganser state, nothing is in a matter state. Then will you be able to change this field and not to be a poison to you, or what we call as a poison giving fields, which is disturbing or changing the operation inside you. One day, if ever mankind listens to past 1.5 hours of teaching, ever sits down and really truly understands it, you are on the right path and you understand how much fallacy has led to so much problem for humanity.
Can I jump in?
Be careful you don't jump in the deep end.
No, I'm not. Happy New Year, all of you guys, and it's very beautiful and lovely to come back to the teachings. And thank you, Mr. Cash, for everything. Mr. Cash, I have 3 questions.
Oh my God, he's going up this level.
I swear, I know you will say that. No, no, it's very easy and beautiful questions. First question: isn't the creation is the what they call it infomaniac condition?
Pardon?
The creation,
Yes.
is it isn't that part of the infomaniac condition, and it's the same. It's part of the schizophrenic condition. We already have it in our bodies.
Oh, you mean schizophrenic?
Yeah, and what they call it, I never can say it perfectly unless Dr. Rodrigo promoted for me. Infomaniac, what do you call it?
Nymphomaniac.
Yeah, nymphomaniac. Yes, nymphomaniac.
Do you know the difference between a schizophrenic and nymphomaniac?
Yes, I was there in the teaching. Is it the schizophrenic come after the infomaniac?
I think we have to get a definition by Rick in Wikipedia.
Okay, coming up.
Okay, until it's coming up, I will ask another question.
No, you can't ask a question. Let's clear this one out, because you raised the question to me in so many ways is nothing to do with each other, but in a way answers the other. Okay, what is nymphomaniac and what is
Schizophrenic.
schizophrenic?
I'm going back to work and I will ask later my questions.
Okay, let us see what
Thank you.
is nymphomania. You raised the question and you ran away.
Yes. Well, when I search for nymphomaniac, we get hypersexuality as that's where it redirects to. Also, sex maniac redirects here, and sexual dependency redirects here. Hypersexuality is extremely frequent or suddenly increased libido, which it is currently controversial whether it should be included as a clinical diagnosis used by medical healthcare professionals. Nymphomania and satyriasis are terms previously used for the condition in women and men, respectively. So, nymphomania would apply to women in particular, but it's another term for men.
So what does it mean in reality? It means oversexed, I presume.
Yes, it's interesting. It does mention here the hypersexuality may also present as a side effect of medication, such as drugs used to treat Parkinson's disease.
Da-da-da-da. 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 Okay. Now, why does he ask the question if it's the same as nymphomaniac and the schizophrenic? It's called sexual addiction. There is a fundamental difference or fundamental connection between the two, but in so many ways, one can be or show itself as to be the other. If you understand what we call the beautiful people, which means there are more souls than one, contained with the containment of the physicality of one body, which is now we understand is a reality. So if, let's say, you have 3 souls in one body and each one has his own turn to do, to confirm. So the blonde one has a pleasure of satisfaction in the morning, John, and then the black hair one, Jack, wants the same satisfaction at lunchtime, and then the Sam in the afternoon would like the same pleasure. One body, 3 souls, all after the same. Does that make that physical body nympho? Or if you have Jill and June and Fatima in the same body, and each one takes pleasure in different physicality of the man and wants to get the satisfaction of the physicality, confirmation of existence, which is repetition of life. Does that make that body nympho? Or does 2 of them want nothing to do? They are satisfied sexually, but the third one has a different idea, and anyone will do. We've seen this in schizophrenic. People with 2 or 3 souls, and one is not aware of the other, but as they take turn, or they are aware of what the other one does, they try to do what they like. But if you understand this, does the, what we call beautiful people, will give a right to only one of them to have the pleasure, and the others choose their own. This, but on the other condition, a single person can have that condition of repetitive satisfaction. Because the biggest addiction in the life of the man is what was given as a stimulation, as a sexual behavior. Why do we get addicted to drugs? Why do we get addicted to alcohol? Because it gives a certain what we call physical, psychological, or chemical satisfaction, or reaching to a level. And does this mean if we can satisfy that level, then you need more and more, or you don't need some of it? I've seen all conditions in this structure. Women with 3 characters, and each one likes different type of men, or one only chooses when he wants to, and the other time don't. I've seen it with a married woman. And when you ask them, they don't remember because they haven't done it, because it wasn't me. With their husband, let's say June or Jill. When it comes to another man, is Kathy was playing. And it's got nothing to do. June says, I've done nothing, I'm innocent. But in fact, it's Jill who's playing. And they target men directly because it's the type of man they like. And you see what you call nymphos, or people who get repetitive to satisfy the addiction of the creation, what we call to produce, in that position. We have to be clear which one we are dealing with. And I've seen many cases of these. They have, and they deny, nothing to do, it wasn't me, it's just something you dream about. But in fact, it's Kathy was playing without Jill knowing. It's very much as we explain in what we call a schizophrenic. You give them each one, they're experts in the topic they are interested in. But at the same time, they have, each one of them has this different sexual habit, what you call satisfaction. One likes to go out with a blonde, and one likes goes with a black, and so on likes to go out with a bald. And as is the turn for each, you say she's an info, but in fact it's 3 people who are serving themselves the pleasures of the birth or human rights. This is what we have to understand. And it says, oh, I've been faithful to you, I've done nothing wrong. Yes, June didn't, but Jack's turn was, and he's satisfied with Jill. This is what we see in some, what we call beautiful people, as we have the twins of the same sex, we have twins of mixed sex. One likes to go out with a man, and one likes to go out with a man, but one goes out with a man as a man friend, and one goes out as a sexual partner. Homosexuality, you call it. But the other one likes women, and it still stays with them. This is the state of mind confirmation of position. That's why we see men who have certain behavior, we call them whatever, or women who have cut their hair to have certain behavior, confirmation of position. satisfaction in the point of what we call demand. So when you speak about nympho, which one is it? And is this the reason why Jalal raised this question? Was God, is it common? Yes, in some cases, people of the what we call beautiful people with three characters do. There's three of them, so each one likes his own satisfaction because that's the time when they have the position of physicality. Does it become a nympho? And they don't even remember the other one has done. Or they do remember and they done it to cover. I've seen that clearly. One's done the act, but the other one becomes aware of it, now has to deny it.
Do that lead to the virgin birth?
No. Somebody was there with one of the three. Virgin birth is totally different. Virgin birth, if you think of it, comes from the interaction of the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of the man. If you
So
understand it, and the case is there. But when you speak about nympho, and you understand which, you have to understand which one it is, then you understand, yes. There are women who go that way, they even change the color of their eyes for each man. If you like to go out with a blonde and the guy likes green eyes, my eyes goes green. This is something that if you understand it, you let it live on its own. I've seen it. They change their eyes, they change the color of their eyes, they change even their behavior. Depends which soul is in position or in operation. And they deny the other two because they cannot confirm the existence of it. Because then it's them, they use the body to do whatever and they deny it. But it's the same body. And they cannot fool their men, they cannot fool their husbands or partners. Because it's very clear. Or in fact, they're women. They're clear. One of these is what I told you, is one of the advisors to the White House for a long time. One of the characters is homosexual. And one of the characters, I don't know if the guy is still alive, used to be one of the worst womanizers you ever see. But when it comes to especially women, because it's the same body, they deny the other. Nothing, you're just dreaming, it's your imagination. And as I said, it's very, very common in schizophrenic conditions when, especially in a young age, one takes over and the other one wants a confirmation of existence. And that's why they kill their parents or they attack their parents. Because the second one wants a confirmation of existence. But if you are become aware of your three parts, or let's say three souls in your body from very young age, you can play it. I've seen it been done. And denying of the other, nothing to do with me. Just stuck it on me. But if you go to the history of the what we call the souls, then you see, yes, one of the souls start playing very early compared to the others. And then they deny and claim innocence. But they've done what they've done. They go and they kill their father or they kill the mother. Or they betray the husband, but it's nothing to do with me, I've never done. But in fact, the other soul has been for a trip. does it become a new form? Or is it two different levels we have to understand? Man has to become very open about these things and understand it. Then you can live a life. You can comprehend what's going on, as long as they understand they cannot lie. And it's just to leave them, just to leave it, because when you see that in this position is one of the souls playing, it's got nothing to do with the soul, you know. You fell in love with one of the souls, not with all three of them. And then deny, and what you call it adultery, comes into opposition. It's just respecting it and walking away from it. I saw this the first time in 1980s, and continuously I've seen many more. What's your second question?
Okay, Mr. Keshe. In your drawing, if we can go back to it, please.
I can't, but maybe Mr. Keshe can if it's still available.
I have cleaned out this drawing. I don't save the drawings.
Yeah,
No problem.
I didn't take a picture of it. We could go back and
No problem. No problem.
No.
It's amazing the colors of your drawing and the system. Maybe you have different system. It's very beautiful how you draw. It's like
Oh, this is what when you have a very nice, beautiful webmaster, he knows what to get you.
yeah,
He's
the colors and the texture of the lines.
yes,
like
yes,
ribbon-like texture, almost three-dimensional.
Thank you very much, webmaster.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's just we changed the system that it makes it more possible for us to show, what do you call it, be able to demonstrate more. The more technology comes in hand, the more we do.
If I
That's
have
why
it,
the sound is so clear nowadays, and you don't have any problem, and we don't get Mr. Grikram saying, "I'm finished with all this nonsense of pictures." And what. No, we don't have that. We're keeping it. Okay, what's your next question?
Mr. Rick Kramen puzzled you all the time. Mr. Keshe, if we have a reactor, let's say a ping pong ball or any reactor, and we manage to create the empty space in the middle, and this is the free plasma in it. If we take it out, this dot, if I take it out, what will happen to
You can't take it out unless
reactor?
you have the creation of the condition.
Yes, if I create the condition to manage to take it out. So what will happen to the structure of it?
Nothing, because if you can keep outside the same condition as inside, yes. Otherwise you can't.
I cannot pull it out?
No, you see, this is something which a lot of people, I've seen it with the Iranian knowledge seekers, they're at it like crazy. And they can't get it. What the Iranians are doing is very simple. They got this reactor and they're rotating it. And they're trying to see this ball in the middle. And it's very hard. But if you have 3 or 4 reactors running around, or huge amount of gases around, you will see that becomes very easy. Because now this is the interaction of the fields around the system interacting too. Earth is not the Earth on its own, it's within the fields of the universe, and that's why it behaves this way. You understand? So when you're creating these hollow centers you're looking for, you have to understand the fields you've created counts. Somebody says, somebody, it looks like he's practiced a little bit more. No.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. I think your microphone went off there.
Yes. So when we look at this, trying to create a hollow center, just don't look at your own system. Look what you created around it. What are the fields? What are the ganses? And then you observe the position and the pictures and what you receive and what you see. I'll try to get you the pictures back, but it doesn't work. The rest has been deleted.
From my side, Mr. Cash, I'm sorry, I didn't see anything and I didn't hear anything because someone came and I have to
No problem.
interact with them. I will see it later. So,
What's the third question?
no, the third one was the system what you used. That's all, because it's
No,
beautiful.
this is the new system which is done by our webmaster. He decided this is what I need, so he's done it, and so we have it this way.
If
It's a different
I
system. It's a different technology.
yeah, if I have this system, I can teach for 5-6 hours, no problem. it give you
We
push
needed
to
it
teach.
for it. We needed for the teaching to upgrade. The system was nearly 3 years old, and we had a lot of problem with the voice, the noise, and the cables and everything else.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cash.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Good morning, Mr. Cash.
Good morning, Azar.
Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year to everyone. I hope
Happy New Year.
fabulous.
You're in the ice freezing cold weather of New York.
Yes, yes. I have a couple of questions. Hassan has a question. You want to go first?
Good morning, Mr. Cash. Happy New Year.
Good morning, Hassan Jan. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
You got to understand how much effort is put by Hassan and Azar in the conference in Iran and the Persian teachings in the background. Thank you very much for both of your efforts and hard work.
It's our pleasure, Mr. Cash.
This pleasure, yeah.
In the last week teaching, you mentioned about the ripple effect of the human behavior, human work, good or bad, on universal council. And also, my question is, what is the human work on the other dimension of the soul? If you could elaborate more on that.
What do you mean by that?
When we do good or bad, has an effect on the universal council, has
Community.
an effect, universal community. So what is that ripple effect?
We take from them, because this is what I've said many times in the teachings. It's not anymore that who shoots a bullet, who made the bullet, who done the other thing. And it's the same when the body, the soul is freed from its body. When you shoot the body or the physicality or deprive it of the physical condition, it has effect on the other souls in totality. They have to accommodate, they have to position themselves according to. And we take from them, or how much we give them. The mankind has to realize he's not alone, I do what I like anymore. not only in the dimension of physicality, is the same dimension of the soul, but in a larger scale, in a more effective scale. And this is what we take from people, what we are not allowed to take. You have to give the room free to do what he likes, because this is his right. And when you realize this, you create a peace for yourself. When you reach that point to understand you cannot steal from your soul and the others try to steal, then what happens? When you put it right, everything goes right. Everything goes right for your soul, for what you're there to serve. So, in effect, if you look at it, what happens to your immediate family happens the same to the immediate soul family, where you are within. And that soul family is part of the universal family. In so many ways, I explained this to someone years ago. It's like playing a game of chess. You know, you have different figures in chess. But the figures don't move on their own. There is a hand which comes and moves them, positions them. And the figures are there. You might have a what we call computerized one that it can move itself, but somebody has thought about this move somewhere, that he has given him that essence of what you got to do. In a way, the man is the pawn on the chessboard. And the soul of the man is the one who moves it. But this has a functionality of itself. But if you sit here and you're the only player, there's another player which his emotion and his thinking affects what the pawn of his moves in yours. So how you move this pawn is affected by this. And if you can understand how you can interact with it, so you understand you can effectively touch it, effectively dictate to it what it does. And this is what we have to understand. Our physical life is that pawn. It has physicality of presentation is there. Is our soul, which is affected by its motion, by its behavior, where it stands on the board, and what is dictated to the others who are themselves another pawn in the game. But in fact, there is one who's in stand. You have to, when you died or you've been taken out of the board, he has to understand the position of it, because it's one less to have. And this is what in reality is. We are part of a bigger structure, and our physicality is just a pawn on the pages of the land of this face of this planet, or part of the universe. But in a sense, there is a soul, there is a controller which has no physical dimension, doesn't play on the board, but it decides what's the consequence of that move on the board. And he has to pay for it or stand the loss of it. It's a very clear way that our physical life and the soul of physicality is controlled, is dictated, is in a way conditioned through our condition of our soul. And soul not having a dimension of physicality is part of the universal community, which physicality is again are in the same position of the man, but they know where to stand physically in respect to their soul and physicality. When mankind finds harmony and balance between the soul of physicality and the soul, then you find a peaceful man. Then you find a correct man. And when one is doing wrong to the soul, or is done wrong to his soul, and the physicality stands it, you'll find everything goes wrong. Because when you do something wrong in the physical dimension, your soul has already made a move to make the position what we call in respect to the other souls for what you've done. And then their reaction brings back to what you do in physical condition through your soul. When we just had Jalal talking about lymphoma and what do you call it, schizophrenic or what you call beautiful people, what's the consequences of the which for which soul in that body, and which soul finds a position in respect to the others, because it deprives the others of the position. As I said many times, I'm not a fool, even though I pretend to be. That's the condition of the soul of the
Mr. Keshe, one of the questions I have is what Jalal was talking about. If, say, I am Mary, Susie, and Jack, and I'm totally aware of all three souls, can I become every time one of them and know who is doing what, and then take responsibility for it when I was asked if I understand this, or no, it's not possible?
What do you mean?
Like, for example, I'm Mary, I go break a vase, and then I become Jack, and my mother asks me who broke this, then I can say Mary did it, I'm Jack. Or I become Susie, and I said I went out and I just sneak out of the house at night and came back, and then my mother finds out and I say who did it, and I'm Mary now, I'm going to say Susie did it, and I don't blame it on the other one or hide it or create a mayhem. I can work in those three souls in the body simultaneously, and be benefited from understanding each soul and what the strength of each soul is, and what the development of each soul is, and what they can do in that form.
You have to work, or you've been working with or understanding, when you speak about the beautiful people, their behavior. Then it's totally different. They cover for each other in a physical dimension, and when they do something wrong, and the one who is always present finds out they've done wrong, they do everything trying to cover it up or correct it. They become each other's souls, what we call balancer. If, let's say, one broke the glass, the other one says, I never done it, and the other one says, I never done it. But up to now, we were not aware of this condition. Now we are. And we have to see how do the souls play in respect to each other. Many times when you have this, what do you call it, condition of, let's say, breaking the jar, or it comes to it, a lot of people call it adultery when they are involved with other case, with other dimension of physical emotion, as Jalal was talking about info. They said nothing to do with me. I've never done anything wrong, but they're aware that the other one has, but they cannot cover it. And then you find that the third one totally denies it. Nothing to do. I didn't. Nothing has happened. Is your imagination. Or the initial stage is one tries to recover from it or trying to cover it. In many cases, if you go into the legal system with people with a schizophrenic which get sentenced to long-term prison sentences, the judges don't understand. If I go for a case to stand in a court with a schizophrenic, you call it nice people, I make a dilemma for the judge to decide why 2 more souls have to spend time in incarceration when one of them is done. And then you have to understand not that one who's getting incarcerated because of his behavior, wasn't he trying to confirm his own existence? And then it's their soul. Are the souls aware of it? And they put it right. The souls put everything right. Because when one does wrong, another one tries to understand, I didn't do anything wrong, it's his. But I deny it because Mary didn't do anything, but Jill was at it. It creates a lot of problem inside for themselves. And then they deny everything. Nothing happened, is your imagination. But in the cases of what we call murder or hurting and damaging the parents or the mother or father, which they mostly do, it's the lack of understanding of the legal system and scientific world, what it is. Why do you, if you have triplets and one of them does a crime, do you put the other 2 in prison? It's because one of them, they were born together. And then what is the condition of their souls? One soul has stolen the freedom of the other 2. Where do they stand in the totality of the judgment or balance of their fields? I've seen cases like this, both with men and women. You just walk away. Because either way, at this moment of time, there is not enough understanding both by the body and the society of correct conduct. And it's always somebody else's fault, never mine, because it's correct, because the others have done it, I didn't do it. And that's why when they become aware of it, most of the schizophrenics, a high rate of them commit suicide, because the one who didn't do it was not there to do it, but he had is the one he's known to be the position of the physicality. But you imprison 3 souls.
Mr. Keshe, another question I have is about death. You know, in Islam, in Christianity, in Judaism, in Buddhism, each of them have their own story about what happens to us after we die. And then all of them are very adamant about exactly this happened. And then none of them have ever died and experienced it and come and talk about it. And how is it possible they can talk about it so clearly, what happened to us after we die? Nobody has died and gone the other side and come back and said, this is what happened. And where did they get this information?
Who says that?
I mean, when we have our Farsi teaching and people send me information, well, I heard from Christianity, Buddhist people, what exactly happened to the death and what we should do and how long we've been holding this place and then we go to the other place. They have a very clear idea what happens to us. But I want to know what happens to us after we die at the present moment. I mean, do you have any idea?
See, the thing is, this is how and what you understand of reality of the creation. Our physical body or our soul is part of the cycle of transition. That's why I always said you have a soul of physicality and you have the soul, which is the totality. And in so many ways, how many people have been to the other side and been back? But in a way is, if you understand it, do you need to come back? Or have they experienced the death? But if you understand the position of the creation and you have watched the cycle, you understand very clearly what happens to next, what happened to it, what happens on the other side. Because from our point of view, we see the soul. From your point of view, you see the physicality. You see a cat dying. That's it. It's a cat dead. Then what happened to it? Will he come back? Does he have a soul? Will he start walking? But that's all you can see. You see the end of physical condition, you call it. But when you sit in our position where we see the soul, we see the freedom, we see the motion, we see it moving to its own position and destination. He has a destiny. That's why it was in that cat. Then if you understand, this is why, this is one of the reasons I always, from the very beginning, any of the Keshe Foundation, any of the knowledge seekers ever came, ever started, ever listened to, I said, pray for the soul of your system. It's not just sitting, switching it off and switching it on and doing whatever, because you give life, you create a cycle of collection of fields that they affect the others. Just because you don't see it at that moment, it means they're gone. It means the energy has dissipated into others, other dimensions, other strength. And this is what mankind has to understand. We see the next step, the freedom of the soul, the freedom of the package of energy which was the center of your creation. Then it takes its own position, and all the souls don't go through the same cycle, because it depends what the strength you have. Are you a small magnet? Are you a big magnet? Are you amongst the bigger magnets? Are you a small magnet? This is what I say even in one of the intros. It says, do you want to become a dust in part of the others, where you can be the star yourself? The physicality is a transition of holding the beauty of the soul. And when the jar is broken, the water is gone, spilled, but that water still carries on existing. Just doesn't disappear because the jug is broken, does it? It becomes water to the plant. It becomes the water which the cat drinks, or it becomes water that you might drink some of it. So it still has life, still carries on, not just because the jar is broken. That jar is the physicality of the man. The biggest problem for a human being is that they have made a lot of things out of nothing because they never understood the reality of their existence. The rest is fantasy world of making whatever you like. But now you're there, you understand it is you who is in position, you, a soul, what we call, never loses his position of his control, his existence, confirmation of his existence. Then you, even as a soul, when you come to stronger soul, it's like, you know, sugar in a hot cup of tea, you dissolve, but it's still there, but in different strength of it. When you sip the tea with a block of sugar in it, which is dissolved, it's not all in one place. In every sip, there is essence of that sweetness. So life never finishes. Then what happened if I sip from that tea with sugar in it, and then my child does, and then my wife does? How we have to split that sugar, and how if I'm diabetic and take that sugar, and my son is short of sugar and my wife is normal, what happened to that? What conditions do they create in my body, in their body? Life is continuous. This man who has never understood it, and he has a ripple effect on everything else which is around it.
Mr. Keshe, in your talk today, you were talking about the soul already made a decision. You know, it seems there's a constant interaction between the physical soul and the soul, depending how you allow your soul to.
Of course.
So my question is, you know, because I had the experience, I want to be clear on this. You see, 2005, when I had no idea, I didn't know anything about the reality of who we are and what we are. I was just wanted to open my practice because I was fed up working for other people and the fact that I had to do wrong things to people. And everything I did, every direction, from the opening, getting the space, doing different things, I constantly wouldn't go through. Like I was out of school, $350,000 loan, and no money to put a down payment. I mean, everywhere I went, I was bumping to the wall, and I was constantly praying, God, please let this happen. And I just went with my whole strength of my physicality to make it happen. Even for the first 2 years, I sat there every single day, 7 days a week, from 9 in the morning until 8 at night. And with zero patient, I just very adamant, I have to make it happen. This was my physical soul actually driving me to do it, not my soul, because I went through hell. But it's still, after 15, God knows how many years, it hasn't gone. But when I look at it, and I was thinking about maybe my soul didn't want me to do it, and why I was pushing so hard. So
I tell you something very interesting. What you talk, just coming with you. This happened to me maybe less than 2 hours ago, just before 3 hours ago. I was in a meeting, and the lady said, "Sorry, I cannot do anything." And I laughed, and she said, "Sorry, I apologize." I said, "You don't need to apologize. It means it has a reason." I don't look at it that is a bad reason. It has a reason. Something needs to be adjusted. And she said, "You're not upset?" I said, "No, you think I'm upset, but I'm not. Because I look at it, there is a reason for it." And it's strange enough, I've tried to do this thing for past 2 weeks, it wouldn't happen. And on the way to go for it to happen today, there is so much opened up. And I said to myself, now I understand why for past 2 weeks I couldn't get this done. Because this gift of this knowledge was supposed to come to me now. And I could understand, and it was such a joy hanging around for 2 weeks, all 3 weeks, and everything else was just a joyful thing. And the woman thought, I must be very angry. I said, "You don't understand how happy I am." And she just went crazy. I said, "I don't understand you." I said, I'm not worried." She apologized. But it meant I had to receive this knowledge at this point, and you were actually the angel of it, not the cause of it. It depends how we look at things. You want something so badly, you won't come because maybe it's not right, because the soul seed is not right, or you have to pass something you done wrong with this at the right time to understand what you've done wrong or right. This This is what I said, the souls decide, not you. And once man becomes aware of his existence, his soul is there. This is what I always say. I don't put my head down worrying about anything which I do wrong. And I know when I do something, it's done through the souls. And what's the reason for it? And the way it was supposed to be done. And it's very interesting. You say you waited years and it didn't happen because it meant the soul knew is not there. We have a very good saying in Farsi, huh? Just don't think what you think is right for you is the best for you. It could be poison to you. But you don't see the poison.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Any other question, or shall we call it a day? It's I think with what we see and what is to come, with especially these enhancement units, and those of you who want to do this kind of research to understand more, to understand the strength of the soul, to understand the physicality and different conditions and environments, they start taking control, start understanding to share the knowledge our way, which is with the reality, the systems are there, there is no need for imagination.
Mr. Keshe, perhaps before we go, you could have an answer for Dan's question about the idea of is it possible to compare the strength of the fields from the dynamic reactors with the ones of the disk, that is, without physical movement? And he talks about only using only the plasma fields, and mentions the reactors with engines, aren't they outdated or obsolete? And we are to go further with our work with the fields, as in the empty box of the universe idea.
That's the next step. At the moment, let us walk before you can run. The creation of the fields without rotation, that itself creates a dynamic rotation of fields. This is how universe is created. This is what I have explained to quite a few knowledge seekers in past time and nobody understands. This is what we change the voltage to current, as you call it. This secret man has not understood yet. And the minute mankind understands the connection and interaction and conversion of the voltage to current, then you have broken one of the cornerstones of the knowledge of the universe. And this is where the new technology will come into play. And as I said, mankind is not ready for this knowledge of conversion of the voltage to current and current back to voltage. We measure it, but we multiply it, we call it a power, but we don't understand it. And in the universe, continuously is the cornerstones of creation of the soul. And if you understand how that hollow ball appears in the center, then you understood the point of creation. And then you go, one level higher. And then what is that other level of understanding of being higher? And then you go to the other one, and until you understand the totality, which means when you understood the totality, you already have become the creator, because that's how the creation is. The dynamics cores with the motor is for you to understand the field effect, which a lot of knowledge seekers need to do, to move away from patches and other things. You were happy with it, this is okay. You were happy with other things, it's okay. Now we go into a different dimension. You have to, which in a way we say, there's a thing we say, if you don't get there, somehow we get you there. But now slowly you have to understand the totality.
And perhaps that leads to Dan's second question, is about do we feel the fields in a dynamic or static reactor, and give to them according or tuning to
Yes.
personal emotion?
Yep. One of our knowledge seekers has that dilemma, and he doesn't understand, and I sit and watch. It goes to 59 volts the minute I touch. It is condition of understanding how we create that motion and emotion together in the field transaction. I said transaction, not transition. Meaning is in transit between acting between one to the other. Don't be shocked when you see the what we call power generators, which last a lifetime and many, many lifetimes. It's the same as the universe. Any other question? 83 hours.
Seems like we should let you go. Perhaps there is one that would be nice to answer, which is from Neil, who asks, what is the best way of creating an oasis system to protect our property and home from bushfires like what is happening in Australia?
There are a number of ways you can do. And in so many ways, you have to create a dynamic field of CO2. If you can do that, you have already created atmospheric condition that there is no oxygen in that position for the interaction with the fire. The difference between the fire and a hurricane is the speed of the motion of the field transfer. With fire is in the matter level of the matter. In hurricanes is in the state of the gas, of the gas. And this is one of the things you have to understand fundamentally, and then you can solve it. And you can increase it, you can keep the fire 100 kilometers or 100 meters away from the house as you wish. But you have to understand how and why. But on the other hand, You got to realize these bushfires are part of the cycle of life. And maybe when you get in it, and maybe there is a reason for it. You got to create a condition that it interfaces with the CO2 in a specific direction and position. Read about the magnesium fire. Then you understand how fires move. Understand the process of magnetic field of magnesium. Then you understand how bushfires so rapidly create a black hole pole field.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I think we should probably let you go, but there's one question about the next time for the next Knowledge Seekers workshop.
We go back to normal. Today, I especially asked for it because I just said I was in trouble and it was impossible to hold a proper teaching. And it was easier. And the second time, I think it's a very good time to do it this time. Huh? Only because on the West Coast is going to be a lot of problem. It's sometime, what, 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, from 3 till 6 o'clock on the West Coast, but it's actually perhaps a better time for Flint, for example. He commented the later the better. In fact, he'd like 3 p.m. or even 6 p.m. Central European time.
Yeah.
But everybody has their
own preference. But we set it up at the European because our work all goes around the European center somewhere. I know for the Chinese it's difficult, it's the middle of the afternoon, and the other side is just beginning of the morning or middle of the morning. But somehow we have to satisfy or in a way to meet with everything else. I go through this because I travel around, and the confusion is when you hit 11, 12 hours difference.
I know, we just have to slow down the rotation of the planet.
And then what happened? We all die.
Well, at least we'd be able to all talk at the same time or whatever. Maybe if you speed it up faster, that would work. I don't know.
If you think of it, if you really, really think of it, when you stop the rotation, you see you never stop, Mr. Crown. If you look at this core, as we said, we had this physicality on the side of it. The real truth about the whole work is the fields which we want you to learn about, not what happens inside. And as you're physical, you keep on looking at that hole. If it's a hole here or here or here, what's the effect on the strength of the fields? Which field comes from which position? And is this for cancer, or this one is for energy, or this one is for material? This is what I'm trying to, the whole of the teaching today was, stop looking at this box. Start looking at this guy here. And this is what I've been saying before. the past few weeks ago. We want you to start looking at this with our dimension of physicality. Doesn't matter where it comes from, how it comes. This is the whole purpose of the teachings. Because if you understood this, then I'll tell you something, you'll find out these all end up. And then this, if it's part of it, ends up with the Creator. This is the whole purpose of the teachings. We're going this way. It's just for you to. I could not see any other way to pull you away from the paths. And God knows this and Ganses.
Now you're talking. Well, why you left us for a while? What do they call it? Goose chasing.
No, you didn't chase any goose. It's just that in the future you understand why. Because you like to have a machine to play with to confirm something. When I left you with your soul, you all got lost. So very soon with these machines, I'll pull your souls out and they say, oh, that's what it was.
It's very easy.
Yeah. But this is the way the Sridhar is saying. If you understand to work with this guy here, then you understand how he interacts with your soul, how he interacts with other souls. And the life starts making sense of the technology. But as you say, slowly, slowly. Now you know about the soul, now you know about the machine which can interact with your soul, and then what you're going to make in between it. And then what happens is somebody appears in the blue or green or red line. This is going to be Christ, Muhammad, or Buddha, or whatever. Or you understand it's the totality, the same cover, the same source. And how it reacts with your soul counts. It's just understanding the truth about the interaction of the fields, and the rest you can join it and see it. This is whole thing I've been trying to bring you into. Think about fields and fields, because now I showed you this, explained to you about the earth and blah, 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 is all to bring you to think about this guy is here, not that guy who creates it. What can you make from it? Doesn't matter where it came from and who's done what.
Mr. Cash, now we understand. Maybe because of this new program of drawing.
Thank you, Bebmaster. No, because we had to understand the soul. This soul teaching brought a lot of people to understand that they cannot be gimmicked or lied to. And then you can now play with anything. If those knowledge seekers go, you see a lot of knowledge seekers at the beginning, when with these dynamic balls, they never understood, they never looked at the fields of it, they just wanted the rotation or move something or fly with something. That wasn't the purpose of it. So we keep on going the same track and then coming back till you're mature. But if you look at it, essence, nothing has changed. We showed you the star formation, and we showed you everything else. Shall we call it a day? It's 3 hours. Thank you very much for today. And please remember, if you are enrolling for the Keshe Society, decide what you want to follow, what you want to bring on the table, or who you want to gather together to develop what you think or researching, what do you think? You got 1 year to do it. And at the end of it, you graduate with no paperwork. Your soul knows you completed. Then you have the conferences coming up in, what do you call, Malta and Mexico and Kenya and then Iran. And as we said, very bad news for some people who thought they were not going to happen, but it happened. The enhancement unit now is at 500,000. And depends how you want to develop it, and we'll show you within the next 4 or 5 weeks the actual system you can see. And then we'll see what happens to people, who is going to claim what and what can be done. But I'll never go inside it, you never go inside it, we'll never do it. This is all what you can decide yourself. Thank you very much for today. And I hope we'll learn a little bit more and corrected some fundamental mistakes in the world of physics. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you. Okay, if there's no further announcements, then we'll complete today's workshop. I think we're good. And you see, we've got next week, we've got the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group on Wednesday at 7 a.m. And then we'll have the 310th Knowledge Seekers Workshop next Thursday, January 9th at 9 a.m. Central European Time. Okay, thank you everybody for joining us in the 309th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 2nd, 2020. And we thank everyone for listening and attending around the world. And we're thankful for coming into 2020, the new year. Okay, we can wrap it up now, Flint, and thank you too for being there for us. Bye, everyone.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate. Innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge in a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GAN's plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists, and healthcare centers. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information. This video gives an insight into the therapeutic progress of a wheelchair-bound subject diagnosed with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. Male, age 58, since his late 40s has been suffering from the two aforementioned conditions, which over the past 2 years have progressed dramatically, leading to a substantial loss of control over his limbs. He was brought into the hospital in a wheelchair, unable to transition from it to a standing position, stand by himself, or walk unassisted. Holding a pen and writing was also beyond his physical capability. The processing of this case started in China in early September 2019 using the Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The subject spent 15 to 20 minutes twice daily in this unit under the supervision of a team of qualified doctors and physiotherapists. The progress of rebalancing this condition through the use of the Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is presented in this video. Knowing that every case is unique, the duration of the full rebalancing for such a condition, while steadily reducing medications, is approximately 16 weeks. Currently, a team of healthcare professionals continues with the process and upon completion will report its findings to the scientific world. Day 1. The initial assessment. The volunteer is in a wheelchair. He is unable to take any steps on his own. Day 4. Standing up. The volunteer stands up by himself after the plasma processing sessions and takes his first steps using a walking frame. Day 5. The volunteer is walking using a walking frame. He is walking unassisted, walking outside, and is confidently walking towards his car. Day 6. Walking outside. He is walking with more ease by the day. Day 12. Plasma processing. The volunteer walks faster, easily passes through doors, and even manages to sit down unaided. Writing. The volunteer is able to write for the first time after a very long period. Day 14. Standing up. The volunteer transitions from kneeling to standing. Day 15. Ongoing improvement. The volunteer is now far more agile. Day 29. He is able to do squats on his own. Day 30. Progressing. Various exercises, such as step climbing on elevated surfaces and walking backwards, are now possible. Day 30 plus, vocal exercising. The volunteer begins vocal exercises to restore his voice and speech. The volunteer practices motor skills and hand-eye coordination using a ball. Day 36, exercising. He practices further coordination skills. He is more proficient when step climbing on elevated surfaces. Day 40 plus, walking. The volunteer is confidently taking a walk in the park. Day 40 plus, coordination. Now he is confident to resume a normal life and go shopping with his family in the crowded market. He is improving his movement coordination. Day 40 plus, exercising. He continues to exercise in the public parks. Day 42, running. Unimaginable. 7 weeks earlier, he was in a wheelchair. Now, the volunteer runs for the first time. Day 42, running. He is running longer distances with ease. Day 45, running. He quickly progresses, getting better day by day. Now he runs in the sports arena, achieving 300 to 600 meters in different sessions in a way that doctors barely keep up. Day 59, climbing. The volunteer engages in adventure park activities and successfully climbs on a net. Day 60, cycling. He now adds cycling exercises to his routine.